Grönros took all the subtleties you miss reading the book as a child and made them apparent on screen. However, even as a kid, I still didn't really pick up on most of it and just took the film at face value, making it a cinematic equivalent of the book. It's actually really impressive just how well Grönros translated the book to the film. The day of the market arrives, and while Klas and Klara play with the other children among the stalls, Albert struggles to sell even one of the glass he's made, next to the more ignoble and charismatic glassmaker Gustav. Gustav lacks Albert's artistic flair, but his skill as a salesman and more versatile creations appeal to the common market-goer more than Albert's intricate sculptures. None of this, however, are on the children's minds. As they run off to where Sofia can't see them any longer, for the first time, the children run into the quiet pillar of aristocracy that is the Lord. Back by the stall, Sofia lambasts Albert for his vain ambition.
Varför ska du alltid konstra till det för dig, Albert? Men dina glas, de går ju inte att använda. De är bara till lyst, bara till pynt.
That's when the coachman prods Albert in the back with his cane. One by one, he strikes near every object, so hard it feels like a miracle they don't break. Their tones sound like screams in their ears, before Albert dutifully packages the chosen vases, bowls, and elaborate works of art into a crate. He's unceremoniously handed a payment far in excess of his prices, but with a twist of his head, the Lord refuses to pay less than he has. This is the first literal prod at the second theme of the story, the nature of desire. If I remember correctly, the Lord and Albert never met each other in the book, and technically they don't meet here either, since all of their interactions occur through the coachman. That is because they live in different worlds, with Albert being very poor, struggling to make ends meet, and thinking he can solve all of his issues by working harder. The Lord, meanwhile, is very rich and can have whatever he wants with a wave of his hand. Both are mirror images of each other, thinking they know what they want, but they don't understand it. Albert is rightly proud of his creations and works as hard as he can on them, but rarely has it ever given him anything. The glass he makes, while it is beautiful, is literally useless to everyone around him, and so he has nothing for it. Until now, when his vain ambition, his wish to make money off of the glass he makes, is about to come true. And as for the Lord, I'll get to him. That evening, as the market is in full swing, Albert implores Sofia to pick out anything she wants and she'll have it. A sentiment she loves him for, even as she declines his every offer. They shouldn't buy things they already have or don't need, but still, she imagines what it'd be like if they were truly rich, for the children's sake. She pictures Klas wearing velvet and Klara in silk, and she smiles. A stare catches her eye and holds it. Above the head of a Romani salesman, held aloft in his weathered grip, there is a glare she can't turn away from. A smooth black pearl, trapped in an embrace of silver, blinks at her in the moonlight. Before she can act, the pale metal hugs her finger tight, and she stares into the glossy jewel. It's as if the smooth surface holds a depth she can't fathom, and the further she stares into its lightless depth, she feels her insides grow cold. It's as if icy black waters are rising to swallow everything inside her, calling it to her deeper into its nighted depths. And despite this awful feeling, or perhaps because of it, she knows she needs to hold on to this ring. As soon as she turns away, the awful feeling retreats. Here and now, looking into the future with hope, she's happy and she can't wait to see what comes next. So much so, when she finds Flaxamildväder's tent, she decides to have her fortunes read. However, without giving a reason why, the old witch refuses her, even when Sofia asserts she can pay. As she is about to leave, Flaxa calls out, and what she says next appalls Sofia. She says that should misfortune ever befall her, if Sofia offers Flaxa the ring on her finger, she will help her. Telling this to Albert so infuriates him that he storms into the tent, and that's when Flaxa tells him what she didn't tell Sofia. An evil power is after their children. Without giving too much away, there are a couple of things that deserves to be addressed. If Flaxa had been more forthcoming with the family, maybe things would have turned out differently. But the thing is, she doesn't know for certain how telling the family will affect future events. For all she knows, things could have turned out worse, especially now when Kloke lacks his knight's eye and can't give her any specifics. Also, I don't know how much the ring cost, but we can assume it was pretty expensive. Let's say Flaxa had offered to read Sofia's fortune in exchange for the ring. Sofia would probably have said no, and Flaxa would have come across less as a powerful help and more like an old beggar. All in all, Flaxa is wise enough to only say what she knows won't make things worse, or at least that's how I figure it. It also ties into the point the film tries to make about selfishness and wish fulfillment. Having already said no, even as Sofia offers to pay her and shows her the ring, by extension, in addition to her hand, I mean, she still says no. Having now made these excuses, let's move on and talk about the cinematography. The movie was expertly framed by Philip Ögard with a skill that rivaled Stanley Kubrick, even if the styles are very different. Compare it to something like The Shining, which had a strong emphasis on symmetry and used the Art Deco architecture to create something that could be equally warm and horrible. At this point, the film reminds much more of Anders Zorn and his scenic, romantic paintings, but every single frame looks like a painting still. Look at the use of the golden ratio, the way the composition flows with the motion of the actors, expertly captured. In Sweden we have an equivalent of the Oscars called Guldbaggen, and there are a couple of those associated with this film. One is for Best Photography, and it was awarded to Ögard. And while I think the award itself is absolutely grotesque, I do agree he deserves the recognition for the way he balanced the basic principles of painting with the drama Grönros needed him to convey. Albert chooses not to say anything to protect Sofia and the children. He no longer spends more time than he has to in the workshop and is always worried about a danger he doesn't even know, but assures Sofia everything is fine and he just wants to be careful. And as time passes and autumn turns to winter and spring, Sofia herself forgets Flaxa's warning. Even as the lightless cold water spills over from the ring and rises within her again, she throws those same worries away, hurling the black pearl into those same lightless waters in the well. But choosing to only see the good and brightness of life does in no way hinder the approach of the dark. And I'd just like to say, in the book the jewel was green, not black and not red, and it didn't glow with infernal fires. But all of this works much better to convey the magic of the film than just having Sofia be unnerved by the thing, so I can give it a pass. With spring comes sunshine to chase away King Bore's snowy blanket, and let the vernal flora rise to greet the returning warmth. The village children pick them diligently to sell by the roadside, and Clara hurries to join them despite their father telling them to never approach the road. One by one the children sell their bouquets to the travelers passing by, except for Claes and Clara. But then the ground begins to rumble. A familiar sound like thunder in the distance, before the black omnibus appears on the road, carelessly striking past the petrified children, but before it can go too far, the carriage slows to a stop. From his seat, the coachman climbs down, hardened by age with the face of a pit bull and the authority of a monolith. He looms above the children, even from a distance, and without a word, he points to Claes and Clara. The coachman is played by Måns Westfeldt, who is sadly no longer with us, and he used to terrify me as a kid. Because I didn't know how to assess him. He's not evil as such, he just does what he's told. But he's still very intimidating, and later on he definitely gives any child watching this reason to be afraid. Trapped under those stony eyes, the kids wait for him. His arm reaches out and takes hold of the carriage door, bringing it open just enough for voices to carry. The lady is hidden behind an embroidered white curtain. Even through the fog of silky fabric, they can tell she's beautiful beyond anything they've seen. A voice they don't know asks if these children aren't pretty, and her expression twists into a grimace of revulsion, but nevertheless she nods. With a dainty porcelain hand, she reaches out and drops 2 coins into the coachman's hand. Payment. For the bouquets, of course. Gently they hand the flowers over, before the coachman closes the door and orders them home to their father and mother. The omnibus has barely driven off before Albert bursts out of the forest to grab them, demanding to know what they're doing by the roadside, when they know they're not allowed to be here.
Good.
Jag tänkte bara hjälpa.
The springtime market rolls around, and with it the hopes of a new year. Claes and Clara play on the market, watching Judy and Punch skits without a worry, and look at the many things they want from the stalls. Meanwhile, the fortune that befell Albert last year is not keen to repeat itself. This time, there is no aristocrat or mysterious stranger willing to buy his wares in one swoop, and yet again, Gustav has sold out his stall long before Albert has. It seems the grace of God that befell him has withdrawn its blessing to leave them poor yet again.
Det är ju konstverk.
Var det han? Ja.
Det är klart att du ska sälja det där. Det är självklart.
And with this statement, Gustav takes to his soapbox and belts out for the entire market to hear that this man is the most skilled glassmaker of the region, and to his salesman's bellowing, crowds flock to behold the most beautiful glass they have ever seen, and yet again money pours into Albert's hands by the grace of Gustav's kind heart, as the glass finds new homes with the market goers. This is a very sweet scene and all, but there is a major issue with it. Not that during all these years Albert never thought to maybe market his wares more, that I actually understand, being an artist and a bit of a recluse. We want our work to speak for itself. We want people to come see the work we put in and how beautiful it is, and they'll just appreciate it without us having to convince them time and again that yes, this is really good. It's a self-destructive attitude, but it's something that I think most artists have to deal with. So, no. My issue with this is, throughout the film, Albert and Gustav have their stalls right next to each other. And we can assume that's been the case for years, and Gustav is very charismatic, he draws a lot of crowds. But none of those crowds ever seem to gander over to Albert's stall and maybe buy something off of him as well. Until now, when Gustav actually points it out. I don't know, that just seems contrived to me. As the crowds pull in to obscure their view of the market, Claes and Clara vanishes among the other stalls. Sofia goes to look for them among the other children, but they're not there. She asks around, but no one has seen them, until she remembers the doll. There was a doll Clara wanted, maybe they've gone to look at it again. Invigorated by the thought, she makes her way to the front of the stall to find the doll is gone. It was expensive. Who could have bought it?
Det var en liten jäntunge med halvtrasiga kläder. Och sin lillebror hade hon med sig. Då kan man låta en liten unge springa omkring med så mycket pengar.
Hidden away from the prying eyes of the crowd, gloved fingers crush a white powder into 2 decanters of milk. Claes and Clara drink the gift from the kind man, certain he's trustworthy. Elsewhere, Sofia runs up to Albert and tells him She can't find the children. His whole body grows cold. Distracted by the crowd and their money, Albert let his attention slip, and what had been his one concern happened without him noticing. Running in every direction, accosting every passerby, he screams for his children, but they don't come. They're gone. The search presses on into the dusk as the darkness grows to envelop them in the night. This is a scene that I will remember for the rest of my life. Part of it is the slow build-up to it, the small hints that something truly terrible is coming, only to then realize it's already happened. Before you could react, before anyone could notice, it's already happened, and it's too late to do anything about it. And it's so grounded, there's no melodrama about it, it's so real. And I don't know why, I don't know why, but the visual of the villagers searching every nook and cranny with lit torches looking for the children, I don't know why, but that strikes me as incredibly powerful. I don't know if it's the contrast I feel against usually associating torches in the dark with horror, or how it's the whole village that's affected by this tragedy. I don't know, but I cried every single time I watched this scene. That's how powerful it is. And that was the case even when I was a kid, even if some things have changed. Today, watching the film, watching this scene, I think it's absolutely miserable. As a kid, I was petrified. Because this was the first time that a film made me understand loss, that it made me understand grief. And I'd heard people talk about it as a kid, but of course I didn't understand it because I'd never experienced it myself. This film, this scene, it gave me a glimpse of what it was like. And then whenever I watched it again as a kid, and this scene came up, I almost wanted to run out of the room because I knew what was coming. I knew where it was going. And I couldn't stop it, I couldn't change it, and I hated that. And speaking of things that are terrifying, it's rounded off with this.
Kusken ska veta att jag vet vad han har i vagnen.
I know it's not very scary today, but like I said, when I was a kid, I struggled not to run out of the room. The entire film is so grounded, even though there is magic everywhere. When something overtly magical does happen, it just feels unnatural. And then there is the eyes themselves, that cold shade of blue they shine with. It makes Flaxa look like a cat caught in the headlights, except her insides are ice cold. And then there is that snake-like sound in the background. But more than anything, what scared me about this scene is the fact it was Flaxa. As a kid, I didn't understand that kind people can be scary. To my mind, people were either good or bad. Bad people scared you, good people were nice. So to see Flaxa, that was supposed to be one of the good guys, one that was supposed to be on the good guy's side, look like something that ought to stalk the woods in the night, really messed with me. And that just about wraps up Act 1. I was originally intending for this review to be a single massive video to go up on my channel, but not only don't I have the time to make that happen before the 21st, I don't even have enough bandwidth to upload a video of that size. In fact, I think I'm going to have to cut this first part into 2 as well. Either way, expect part 2, A and B, next week, and along with your regularly scheduled found footage review. Thank you all for watching. I have been Cause Scratches, and I hope you will see me again next time to take another look at what I found.